Everyone that gets a real estate license, just like every artist, is a business owner. They own their business. They own their brand.
What up, y'all? It's your boy Ignit, and this is the first ever episode of the How to Sell Dope podcast. First and foremost, thank you for tuning in. If you are listening out there, the goal with the podcast is to bring entrepreneurship to artistry. As an artist, you are an entrepreneur, you are a business, and I hope that you learn a couple of things along the way. I'm definitely going to learn a few things along the way as we go. But let's get into it. Today's episode, I have very special guest. It's my mother. I chose my mother not just because she's a dope mom, but because she's been in the real estate game for a very long time. Now, realtors are independent contractors, entrepreneurs, and there's a lot of different things that we can learn from the way they do their business and apply it to how we do our music business. Entrepreneurship is the same across the board. She definitely dropped a couple of gems on this episode. Most notably, having a board of directors. You have 5 people that play different roles in your life that you consult with to kind of keep yourself together, keep yourself on the right track. I thought that was very interesting. I thought the conversation we had about, that time when she first jumped into being an entrepreneur and how, because it wasn't so structured, because someone wasn't telling her when she had to get up and do things, that she took it a little easy. She laid in bed and was watching television and realized that the people on TV were making money while she's watching them on TV. Meanwhile, she ain't making nothing while she watching them. I thought that was very good. I think she dropped a bunch of gems throughout the conversation. Definitely tune in. Without further ado, episode 1 of the How to Sell Dope podcast with Natalie Carpenter. Okay, and we are back for the 3rd time now with the How to Sell Dope podcast with a very, very special guest. This is the first episode for the 3rd time that we're recording it. I definitely appreciate your patience with everything and internet issues and microphone issues. But part of what we want to do with this podcast is, bring the entrepreneur idea to artists, because as an artist, you are an entrepreneur. And sometimes you got to be able to figure stuff out when it's not going right. You got to be able to pivot, fix things, change things up to make sure that your business is successful. And, case in point with this, having the difficulties with the internet and doing all that. But very special guest today, someone who I've known for the entirety of my life, possibly a little bit before I was born, Miss Natalie Carpenter.
Hi there.
Hello. Again.
Again.
Yes, let's get right into it. Tell the folks your title and what you do.
Okay, I am the District Vice President for the South and Michiana regions for Coldwell Banker Realty.
Awesome. So I'm sorry, did I cut you off?
No, go ahead.
You started off as a real estate agent.
Yes.
I like to think that there is a commonality between real estate agents and artists, as you're represented by a company as an agent, but if you don't hustle, you don't eat. Correct?
Exactly. An agent, just to give you an idea, they're all independent contractors. They partner with Coldwell Banker, or Coldwell Banker sponsors them, meaning the way the state works, if you have, you can take a class, pass the test, get a license or get the opportunity to have a license, but you have to have a sponsoring broker. And that's, what we do for the independent contractors that work with Coldwell Banker. Now, an independent contractor is nothing more than a business owner, basically. Everyone that gets a real estate license, just like every artist, is a business owner. They own their business. They own their brand, what they bring to the table so that they can generate income for themselves. With an artist, you've got talent that you're projecting or sharing with the rest of the world, and hopefully in exchange for income. With real estate agents, you also have talent, the ability to attract people to you that want you to help them either buy or sell real estate. It's very similar, different industries, but very similar concepts.
I would even go a step further and say, especially since as an agent, you're represented by a company that may be more popular than who you are as the agent. A lot of times you can kind of see the correlation with artists being signed to a label. Some artists are bigger than the labels, but, especially artists that are aspiring, starting out, or if you have been able to get a little buzz on your own and you do like a joint venture with the label or, some type of distribution, it could be kind of the same situation. The same.
Exactly.
Idea.
Same concept, if you will, because like you said, with the real estate agent, a lot of times the brokerage opens the door, but it's still the real estate agent that has to walk through the door and win the relationship from there. And it's the same thing with a label and an artist. The label may open the door. People might be familiar with that particular label and other artists that have worked under that label. And so that automatically opens the door. So then the artist has to come through and, do their thing in order to be able to generate enough buzz to create a revenue stream.
Right. So I guess, I do kind of want to have I have some mindset questions in mind. And I'll start with this. With that being said, we just talked about how as an agent, you don't hustle, you don't eat the same as an artist. What do you think scares most people from being an entrepreneur? A lot of people are just okay with being told what to do, come here at this time, makes X amount of dollars. What do you think scares people from going out and getting on their own?
The loss of security. Some people look at a job as security, even though you're limited as to how much money you can make. Somebody has to tell you what to do. And if you don't do it, you're always worried about whether or not they're going to say, see ya, wouldn't want to be you. But at the end of the day, if you do a good job and you mind your manners and you mind your, what you say to people and you show up on time and you do what you're supposed to do, you can reasonably expect to keep that job and have that steady pay flow. When you're an artist or if you're a real estate agent, you're on your own, you're independent. You have to, if it's to be, it's up to me. You gotta get it. If you don't put it in, you're not going to get it out. And realistically, a lot of people are scared. They're scared to become their own boss because, they know that it's hard for them to get up and work for the man that's signing their paycheck and that they're getting every 2 weeks. So when it comes to being their own boss, most of the time they slack off. I remember as a new agent, when I left my good 9-to-5 job to sell real estate as a independently contracted entrepreneur, I got a rude awakening because I started sleeping in, watching TV shows you probably never even saw, Dick Van Dyke, Beverly Hillbillies. They were old at that time, and I was still watching them. And I realized I wasn't making any money doing that. One day, I kind of looked at the television, and I was looking at, I was watching somebody, and the thought occurred to me that every time I'm watching them on television, they're getting paid. They're getting paid the residuals for everything. And I'm thinking, why am I laying here with my broke self, watching them make money, and I'm not making any? This made no sense. And I thought about, again, if it's to be, it's definitely up to me. I better get up, get my butt
happen,
and make the money myself. Let people watch me. I don't want to watch people and not get paid, and they're getting paid for me watching them. That made no sense to me.
Yes, you know what? That's a really good point. I'm going to take a note of that. I guess what you just said though, if more people can understand exactly what they're doing at their job, meaning the organization. I have to be here at this time. I have to make sure in 8 hours I get X amount of things done. If they can kind of like start arranging their life in that fashion, then they could probably be an entrepreneur. They could probably do it for themselves, because I guarantee 9 times out of 10, whoever you're working for doing that is probably making a good amount of money off of you doing so. And you could probably benefit a little bit better doing it on your own, or going for your own passion.
But that brings up another point. You asked, what are people scared of? The security is one thing, but they're also scared that they have to perform and that they have to actually plan. Most people, and I've met with thousands of entrepreneurs that have come into the real estate business over the years, and very few people that I sit across from when they're first starting their business have a plan. Sometimes they've been in the business for a while and they don't have a plan. And they look at me like I have 3 heads when I say, well, what's your plan? You know, they tell me, they walk in and they say, yeah, I'm going to make $100,000, you know, because I ask them, what's your goal? What do you want to do? What are your dreams? Well, I want to make $100,000. And I'm like, okay, so what's your plan? And they're like, that's what I need you to tell me. And I'm like, huh? This is, I will coach you. I will help you. I will support you, you know, all of those things. But you have to have some kind of idea about how you're going to get there. And to be really honest with you, lots of making $100,000 a year, even your first year in the real estate business, it's not that difficult, but you need to have a plan, because it's not like the dollars are just going to start running towards you. You need to understand what it is you have to do it. And I mean, there's several different ways you can do it. You know, you and I have talked about this before, how you take the end result and then back all the way down to, you know, what you need to be doing now. Or, you know, you just sit there and say, okay, if you're an artist and you say, okay, I want to make $100,000 in my craft, what do I need to do? Well, there's a few things. First, you want to start looking at people that are in your business that make $100,000. See what they do. Come on now. Look at the things that they're doing. Get engaged with the things that they're doing. You know, read the stuff they're reading. Be in the places that they're in. You know, if you can, travel in their circles. If not, create your own circles that mimic those. But you have to plan. You have to be strategic about what you want to do. If you're not strategic and you just show up, then that's all you're going to get. There's a saying in our business that if you don't go after what you want, you're just going to get what you get. And getting what you get, you might get a little bit of something, but small ain't big.
Right.
start thinking bigger. And the way you think bigger is to plan.
And one thing I want to comment though, for artists to make $100,000, and I'm not making $100,000, so don't don't look at me and be like, well, why you ain't? Because I'm figuring it out. But I think if you can just scale it back to 10,000 people giving you $10, right? Or if you can get, that's right, man.
Yeah,
10,000 people giving you $10, like. It's that simple. You just got to find 10,000 people willing to give you $10. And that may be the harder part, trying to figure that out. But eventually.
But that is like the foundation of your business plan. If you say, okay, I need 10,000 people to give me $10. Okay, so how do I get one person to give me $10? And you look all the things that you can do to get one person. And then you put it all together so that you've got 10,000 giving it to you. So there you have your 100,000. And then you work your plan. It is that simple. It is just that simple.
And plans are important. I remember when I told you, I just bought this equipment. I'm going to open up this studio. And you're like, well, what's your plan? I'm like, I don't know, but I'm gonna figure it out. It's been a rough time because I didn't have a plan. My only plan was to not quit, not give up even when things get difficult, and just know that if I'm still alive, that I'm gonna try to figure it out. And that luckily has worked out for me thus far, knock on wood. But Planning is definitely important. Now that I have certain things in place, it makes things easier because I have plans. I wanted to touch.
Well, before you move on from this, let me just say this. I want you to think about this, and whoever is listening to this podcast, I want them to think about this too. Now, you just said something that is worth $1 million to somebody listening. You started this thing 4 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And I asked you, what was your plan? And you said, oh, I don't have a plan. And you just confessed, to all of these listeners that it's been rough. That's what happens when you don't have a plan. It's rough because you don't have a clear direction on how you're going to get to where you need to get to. It's like going on a vacation, a road trip without a map or GPS to know where you're going to go. You'd be turning down streets that are the wrong streets because they're not going in the direction you need to be going, or you can end up going 30 miles the wrong way and have to turn around and come back because you're not directed. That's why planning is so important. When you look at where you want to go and you actually plan out the trip, just plan out the trip. You can change it because, maybe you might find there's an easier route here, or maybe you might find that, there was a roadblock here. You might have to go around it. That's okay. But when you plan out that trip, it makes that trip a lot smoother and less headaches along the way. So you don't have as many bumps and bruises that you end up getting. And it doesn't take you as long to get there as it would if you just didn't have any kind of plan. You just start walking and you might make it there, but it might take you a much longer time.
Yeah, because I think sometimes you don't know what you don't know. So I think even if, and this is my opinion, but even if you don't necessarily have a plan, but if you're willing to be dedicated to the journey, then you can figure it out. But you got to be really dedicated. Like you can't like quit when it gets rough. Like you can't do that, or else you're never going to get to where you want to go. But I think along the way, sometimes you can figure out a plan. Like I know what I want to be now, but just recently had to pivot again. So now I'm trying to come up with a new plan for the new lane I want to go in. So plans change. Plans change.
But when you start off with a plan, no matter how basic it is, you have some kind of guideline. You've got a roadmap to follow. And yes, you're going to run into roadblocks. They're going to make you pivot. They're going to make you change lanes. They're going to make you go around some stuff, back up, maybe even go the other way a little bit out of the way so you can come back. But you're not totally out of the way. And that's what happens. And that's why a lot of people give up, because they realized they were trying to go north, and they realized that they just went 15 miles east or south.
Right.
And they're like, oh man, how am I going to get back to this? It's hard. It's hard for a lot of people to regroup after that. That's why the smartest thing you can do for yourself is sit with somebody and make a plan, no matter how simple it is. If you're an artist, let's say you're a singer, and you want to sing. Let's say you're not trying to be a recording artist, which I know you want to talk to recording artists, but let's say you want to be a wedding singer. Well, if you're going to be a wedding singer, then there's a lot of things you need to do in order to market yourself as a wedding singer, unless you're cool with I don't know how much they charge, but let's say you get $150 for singing at a wedding. Well, you need to sing at a lot of weddings in order to make $1,000 if that's what you're trying to do. So in order to do that, you got to figure out, how do I do that? How do I replicate myself? How do I duplicate myself? How can I do 4 weddings in the course of a day? Because making $600 a day is so much better than making the $150 a day. 100%. So then how can I, how many times a week can I do this? What other things can I do? Then you start branching out, but you start off with a goal and a plan, and then you let it blossom from there.
Yes. I mean, that is the honest to God truth. And That's a word that we all need to hear, because planning definitely helps you get to where you're trying to go. As an artist, as a producer, as an engineer, as a studio owner, whatever you're trying to do, if you got a plan, you can map it out and execute. Now, you had said something a while back that I wanted to comment on. You said you were sitting in your bed watching television, and you were thinking to yourself that every time you watch this person, they're making money while you're watching them. And I think that is really important, especially in the social media era, because I know I find myself scrolling a lot, watching people that are doing stuff that I want to be doing. And I'm like, man, why am I not? But then I realize it's because I'm watching them do what they doing, getting paid to do what they doing, and I'm not. So I need to put myself on live or put myself in front of more people so I can also be living the life that they are.
Absolutely. I met with a young lady earlier today. It was a very interesting and enlightening conversation. She actually met with me because she wanted me to be a mentor for her. She's a real estate agent, and she's newer to the business, but she's been around 5 or 6 years, and she wants to develop, be a better real estate agent. But she taught me something in that conversation that was just phenomenal. She told me over the weekend, she attended a seminar downtown, and there was, I forgot how many people were there. I think she said 100 people, and she was the oldest person in the room. And the interesting thing, and she's not old, so she's like in her late 30s. So the interesting thing that she learned, there were all these young people that were teaching the class, and these people had become millionaires over stuff, just doing regular everyday stuff that other people are doing, but they do it on social media. And they were showing how to really use the power of social media to build your business. And she gave me a couple of examples. I mean, it was like, just regular stuff. Like she was, this one in particular that she was telling me about. She was like, this young person took, how you have the historic Black colleges and universities. Mm-hmm. They built a social media platform around selling the swag and the paraphernalia for all of these colleges and universities, and they put it on their one site, and they sell. So how this college has some things and this college has their stuff. Well, she grouped it all together and sold it like that, and became a millionaire like in less than a year from doing it this way. And the colleges, they use it as fundraising, and they're struggling to try to get people to buy their stuff. But when she put it like that, it was just all over the place, and she just blew up. Then they got mad and went and tried to regulate her. Because how could she make all of our money? This is our stuff. But they didn't know, these are colleges and universities, and they didn't know enough to combat her, and what she was doing to save the money for themselves. So then they decided that they were going to charge her $200 for the right to use their stuff, $200 a month. This is somebody who's making millions.
Okay.
They don't care. They put in 200. I mean, that's $2,400 a year. I don't care if it's 100 colleges. That's not a whole lot of money when you make millions from this. Okay.
Right.
It was just interesting. And she said it was story after story. And it was all about just taking a concept and promoting it on social and having it blow up. And, it's all about, and, we had a pretty long discussion about it. So it was pretty interesting. But, when you think about that, look at all of these, look at Justin Bieber. He started off on like one of the social platforms, right? And
I think he was a Disney dude. It could be a social platform, but I think he was one of those Disney kids. Maybe both.
Okay. Somebody I know I saw recently, they started off, they were one of those social media singers and then they got all these likes and they got all these followers. And from there, they ended up becoming as famous as they are. And, that's what it takes. Right now, social is the key. And the thing about it is it costs very little money to put yourself on social. And especially if you have a talent, come on. You can sing, you can rap, you can act, you can do stuff. You can find a way to showcase that. And that should be part of your business plan.
Trying to look this up now. I don't think he started on Disney. I think I just put him in the Justin Timberlake category, which is
Justin Timberlake, I believe he was on Disney.
Yeah, I think him and Britney, right? But okay. So I may be wrong about that. But yeah, I mean, I think with social media, that's the thing. It's all about trying to figure it out. Like you gotta be entertaining. There's so many people on there. So you have to do something different or better than someone else. And that's kind of the key, right? Like you can't just, put something out there. You got to be entertaining. And that's the one thing that artists got to remember. Cause I know a lot of people and I'm sometimes this way, I'm trying to up my game, but you can't just keep putting boring content out expecting to grow your audience. The album artwork with the music playing, that's cool. If you Big Sean, people will be, oh, that's dope. But you got to follow that up with something else. Can't.
You gotta. I mean, but that's like anything. It's marketing your talent, your skills, whatever. Back in the day, before all this social media, and when I first started selling real estate, we didn't even have you didn't know what the house looked like until you drove up to the door, because we didn't have these computers and smartphones and all of this kind of stuff. We had no idea what it looked like. You had a description, a written description, and you had to use your mind's eye to figure it out. And we were creative enough to market and, be successful at what we were doing, letting everybody use their mind's eye. Now, you don't have to use a mind's eye. You can put it out there, but you can control what the people are seeing because of the way that you present it. A lot of people mess up, in my opinion, especially on social media, when they're trying to market themselves or their business or whatever, because they use it like it's a television. Television marketing is different than social media marketing. TV marketing is advertising. I mean, it's pure and simple. You're advertising. People are expecting to try to be sold. When people go to social media, they're not trying to be sold. They're trying to have a conversation with a friend. That's why the people, that are on your social media page, they're called your friends. So you're supposed to be having a conversation with them. So as an artist, even like with you, if every time you went on social media, you put something up that says, use Beatbox Entertainment for all your recording needs, people would start unfriending you. That's not the platform for that.
People already unfriend me, but
if somebody was watching their episode of Andy Griffith, I should say, and your ad came up and it said, use Beatbox Entertainment for all your recording needs, they will accept that because that makes sense. But on social media, if you were promoting that, you want to be talking about what's happening. Hey, I just recorded this really dope artist. You need to come and check him out, hear what he's saying. He is really excellent. Or, wow, I just got in this new piece of equipment that now, makes everybody sound like a rock star or whatever, because, I don't know anything about music, but that's the kind of thing that draws people into you.
You know what? You just gave me some really good ideas of things that I haven't been doing. So I appreciate that. So anybody who's watching this or listening to this, pay attention to my social media in the upcoming weeks, because my mom just gave me some gems. But go ahead.
And a side note to that, anybody that's watching this and listening to this, pay attention to your mom, because she knows.
This is true. Moms know how to reel you in too. I'll tell you all this story real quick. back in, I don't know, what was it, like 06, 07, I somehow bumped into R. Kelly at an IHOP and ended up selling him a song at an IHOP. Don't ask how, why, whatever. It's just random things happen. And once I got that check, I had never really been paid for my music before. And once I got that check, I was working at Chili's. I told my mom, I came home, I'm like, Mom, I am quitting my job. I am doing this full time. I don't care. This is who I am now. And she was like, now, son, you might want to rethink that. These things happen sometimes as a one-off. You know, you don't have that. You didn't have everything in place at that time to just shift gears like that. And I'm glad that I listened to her, because I didn't have everything in place and I would have only made that one sale and been done. But I think it's very easy to get ahead of ourselves when we have a little bit of success. Sometimes we can think that the world is changing, but it takes so much more than a one-off luck situation. And another thing that my mother taught me growing up, luck is when preparation meets opportunity. So yes, those type of things happen, but it goes back to planning. It goes back to being able to be organized and having systems in place, to having a team around you of dedicated people who are willing to do professional work. Like it gets really deep. Moving forward, I have a couple of more questions left. I don't want to keep you too long. I guess we can segue into this next question. Can you be a successful entrepreneur if you're not organized?
Well, you know what? I'm going to say this. Organization it's a skill. People and everybody doesn't possess that skill. But in order to be a successful business, you have to be organized. So you either have to have good organization skills, or you need to align yourself with or surround yourself with people that have good organizational skills that will consult with you. That's why, I mean, when you go back into history about artists, specifically in the music industry, there were a number of artists, and I know I took you to see the play on Jackie Wilson because I wanted you to see that as talented as that man was, he was not organized. He did not understand finances, and he didn't take care of his business, the business of, being an artist. He just wanted to sing. And ultimately, he had no money. As much as his records sold, as many concerts as he appeared on, TV shows, etc., he was broke. And it's because he did not have the organization that he needed to around him.
Yeah.
Plan. He let somebody else have a plan for him. So the answer to that is, you can run a successful business without you yourself being organized, but you better have somebody around you organized.
And you better be able to trust them, because like you said, somebody else had a plan for him. And if he
exactly.
Their plan wasn't in his best interest.
It has to be trustworthy situation. I counsel a lot of people that are in business for themselves to do what the major corporations do. And that's to put together a board. And your board should consist of 5 people. You want minimally 5 people. You can have more if you want. But first off, you want to have somebody that purely has your best interests at heart. No matter what happens, they really care about you as a person and what happens to you. Second person you want to have is somebody that's doing what you aspire to do. If let's say you're a rapper or a studio owner, you should have a relationship with somebody that's more successful than you as a rapper and has a bigger studio or a more successful studio or whatever. That should be the second person on your board. Third person on your board should be that friend or that person that is brutally honest. That's the one that's going to tell you, why did you wear that? Or oh, that song sounds horrible, because you need to have that kind of feedback so that you can make sure that you get a chance to check yourself and know that that what you're doing is right. Because, sometimes we can get in our heads and think that, oh, we're the best thing since sliced bread. We're really killing it. And then that person comes along and says, I wouldn't do that if I was you, or it don't sound right. Because sometimes it may not sound right, and you might have to go back and tweak it. The fourth person that you want to have, and these are not in any kind of order, but you want to have somebody that is, a spiritual advisor, somebody that can kind of tell you, like, that keeps you on the, is that the right thing to do kind of track. They don't have to read the Bible to you every time you talk to them, but that they kind of look at things and they guide through life on a spiritual path. That's important. And then you want to have somebody who is not in your line of business at all, but is extremely successful, that has the lifestyle that you want to have, and you want to have them on your board. So those 5 people that's a minimum of who should be on your board. And you should consult with them regularly when you're making decisions about what you're going to change in your business or something that you want to add. They don't need to know every single detail, but when there's something that you want to do that could possibly take your business in a different direction, or, increase your gigs, or, whatever it is you're going to do, kind of consult with them so that you get a consensus from your board as to whether or not you're moving in the right direction. That's always helpful.
Yeah, I mean, that's a game. I think you've said that to me before, and I think I got 3 of the 5, but I need to fill out 2 more slots. So I'm gonna get on that, because I think that's very, very important. I can see that as being a way of keeping you grounded, focused, and just overall, it should help you achieve your goals a lot better.
Absolutely.
That's dope. That's some real game right there. It's probably gonna be an Instagram post or something, because that's good stuff. Let's see. We just talked about how Jackie Wilson wasn't organized, so that question is done. I guess how, you know what? Here, let's dial it back, because I think a lot of times we start, and it happened to me. Luckily I didn't give up, but you start out and you're like so optimistic about how business can go. Or, you got a hot song, the first date, everybody like it, and then like a week later, it just kind of starts fizzling out. So how do you keep yourself from being discouraged, as an entrepreneur?
Well, because first of all, you have to understand that everything you try for the first time, everything you do, whatever you introduce, whether it's a marketing idea, whether it's a new song, whether it's a new idea, you're trying it. So you're looking for feedback from people, and you can't have the expectation that it is the greatest thing, because, yes, it's probably great from your perspective, but you created it. So you need feedback from the people that are going to hear it or pay for it, or, whatever the case is. So you're constantly looking for feedback. You're always trying to try things. Look at it sort of like in the medical field. You know how every time somebody says, "Oh, my arm hurts," well, they came up with this new pill to make your arm stop hurting, but they don't know if it's going to work or not. So they're trying it on you. If they get a lot of people that said, "Yeah, it works," then they're like, "Yeah, it's great. This is the pill to use." But you're going to always get some people that'll say, "No, it doesn't work for me." Same thing with the things that you try. Feedback is important. Some of the things, what you might want to do is get a group of people that are that typically like whatever it is. So, for example, if you have like with I know you have a lot of people in your database, people that have come to your concerts. They were supporting you when you were performing, and they know, you're a great producer and, sound engineer and all of that. Get a focus group together and test it out on them.
whatever it is, introduce it to them, get their feedback. If they tell you something needs to be tweaked, changed, or whatever, then do what you can to change it before you put it out there to the masses. You inch it out sometimes. And then sometimes when you just know it's really, really good, put it out there. But you gotta be able to take it if it's not what you think it is.
Right.
You can't get discouraged because it just wasn't it. That doesn't mean that it does not mean that you don't have the talent. It just means that the wrong people heard it and it wasn't the right time. The wrong people were in the room.
Yeah, you know what? And this goes back to someone who had a conversation with the other night. Now, I hope he doesn't mind me. I won't say his name, but I hope he doesn't, take this as me taking a shot at him. But as an artist, and he has some really dope music, and he put it out. And every time he puts it out, he'll shoot me a text message or ask me if I seen the video or something. And one time I told him, yeah, but then I had like a late session. I had to get up early in the morning and something came up as soon as I woke up. So I didn't get a chance to actually check out the video. I never got around to it. And then I ended up getting a message like later on that next day, like, man, you ain't check it out. No response, huh? And, this person ain't check it out. That person ain't check it out either. That's how y'all feel. And it's like, man, you gotta, I think as artists, like you just said, if you put it out and it's not to the right people and you don't get the right response, is it on you because you haven't found your audience and found enough people to engage? Like, cause I always say this to artists, your friends and your family are not going to ever fill out an arena. So it's like, if you're trying to become a major artist or a big name, you got to be able to reach people that you do not know. And you cannot get upset if everybody that you don't know doesn't want to support your cause. You know what I'm saying? If everybody that you know doesn't want to support you, you can't get mad at that because you got to find the people that do. And then I remember when I first opened the studio, I was offering free sessions. They were late night sessions, but free sessions to people, right? And some people would say they were coming and then had an excuse at the last minute of why they couldn't make it. And at that time, I'm driving Uber trying to make it work. And then I would stop at like 10 o'clock so I could come to the studio and try to cook up late night, with these people just so I can get my feet wet as a producer and as an engineer. And they would cancel me last minute. But that doesn't happen anymore. Now that I've ran ads for my business and I've sought out people who are actually interested in spending money to record and get a professional sound. You know what I'm saying? So it's it's a little different. I think that the takeaway, because I feel like this is a long-winded response, I want artists to understand that you have to market yourself. If you run an ad on a song, even if you just put $100 behind it, I guarantee you, if it's any good, if you found out your audience, you'll find at least a couple of new fans, if not 2 or 3. You just got to make sure that you're not solely relying on the people around you, because the people around you will support you because they like you and they love you, but they might not necessarily be fans of your music, if that makes sense.
It makes sense. It makes perfect sense. I'm sure you probably don't remember this, but when I first got in the real estate business, when I first decided that I was going to go full time in the real estate business, I thought my family and friends were going to be the ones who, supported me in my business. It was like pulling teeth to get them to trust me as their realtor when I first got in the business. Because, basically they were looking at the fact that I just got off the banana boat as far as they were concerned. Mm-hmm. I didn't know what I was doing, and I'm asking them to entrust me with the biggest purchase of their lives. And, it was a little weird. And I realized very quickly that if I was going to have a sustainable business, it wasn't going to be from my family and friends. I had to be able to convince people that didn't know me that I was a likable person and I was capable of doing what I do. And so that was where, where I really started to see the win, because then it was the marketing. It was marketing my talent as a real estate professional that can negotiate and, find the best properties for you. It was then that things started turning around for me. And it's the same for any artist. You are never going to get rich. Like you said, you're never going to get rich. You're never going to make that living off of the people, the small group of people that you know already. You have to reach out beyond there, because as you said, your family and friends, they may have grown up on, I don't know, Luther Vandross. And if you don't sound like Luther Vandross, then that's not, it's not a thing for them. But if you market, if you put your stuff out there and people hear it, and you develop a fan base from the people that didn't know you already, but they just like your music, that's what you want to build on, because then they know people that like the same kind of music you like or that you put out. And then those other people know people. And then you start to really build your fan base. That's how you do it. But it's all about exposure. You got to keep exposing yourself. And the biggest way to expose yourself right now is through social media, but through spending money. Spend a little money. You heard the old saying, you got to spend a little money to make some.
Yeah.
You don't have to spend a lot, but, participate in stuff where you got an opportunity to get an audience, to get more followers. There are things like festivals, stuff that comes up in the summertime. And then there's like these amateur concerts and different things. And sometimes they ask for you to put, maybe pay $50 entry fee or $150 or whatever. And I've literally heard people say, I'm not paying no money for people to hear me sing. Well, guess what? They're getting ready to bring 1,000 people in this venue to hear somebody standing up on the stage sing. And you won't pay $150 to get the potential for 1,000 more people that become your fans.
So you know what? I have a different view on that. And I think you're right. If you are an artist who understands how you can capitalize off of that, meaning that if you're performing at some venue with 1,000 people and you paid for this slot to get in front of these folks, you should figure out a way that they can either follow you on social media, make it easy, like so easy for them, where they can follow you on social media or, follow you on Spotify or Apple Music, like a way that you can actually capitalize off of that. Then yes, you should definitely pay that money to get in front of those people. But the music industry has a history of being, what's the word? Just kind of taking advantage of its artists sometimes and having them pay to get these slots. But honestly, as a businessman now, as I revisit that thought process, I think if you do it the right way, then you can capitalize off of those situations for sure. Let's see, mailing lists. How important is having a mailing list?
Well, a mailing list is extremely important. In some industries, it's called a database. And, it could be, whatever the industry is, it's a contact list. It's a way that you can contact people that know you're an artist, know who you are, and know something about you that you have a somewhat of a prior relationship with. It could be somebody you just met, but you've had that prior relationship, that connection with. Having them to be able to reach out to new ideas, new concepts, maybe some of your new music, or whatever. There again is where you can draw your feedback. Now I'll be honest with you, with an email list, it's a low open rate. That's because our communication in the world is changing, and it's getting, people want to do things more immediate. Now you can get almost a 98% open rate from text messaging. So using text messages, if you can gather phone numbers and text people certain things. Some of it is annoying because I know if you're like me, you get text messages like all day long, every day. And it's annoying sometimes, but if the right one comes through and it looks interesting, I will actually click on it and pay attention to it. But most of us click on a text message faster than we do an email. But emails are good. If people especially if when they open an email, they're going to expect something good, then they'll open that email. If they're going to expect same old stuff, then they may not. Like I every day I get an email from the morning group. I get that every morning, first thing I do before I even literally get out of bed, because I know that I'm going to get some good nuggets of information that are going to help me with not only my day, but my life. So I look forward to that. So you got to make whatever you're sending out to that mailing list compelling enough for the people that receive it to want to open it up.
Yeah. And that's a really good point, because I think this is something I try to get better at. Shout out to the people that open up my emails. But I use MailChimp. And when I send my emails out, I'm able to see how many people, what percentage of people actually opened it, who clicked on stuff, and that type of deal. And I noticed like certain emails, if you know anything about copywriting and how to make the subject interesting, you can get a lot more opens than just getting straight to the point in the subject. I know it's just like it's an odd thing to say. It's almost like you got to be kind of clickbaity when you send the email to get people to open it up sometimes. But I think once they do, if you can prove to have some valuable information, then they may look forward to open your email up next time.
Yeah. I could actually talk to you probably till tomorrow about a lot of this, but I am going to have to wrap it up. But I will share this with you. This is something that's really important. The subject line, when you send an email, to make it more compelling, has to touch a nerve. Otherwise, people are not going to open it. I used to always tell agents that you've got to touch the person's pain in order for them to open it. People, if you just say another great song from so-and-so, they may not, if they're not a so-and-so fan, they may not open it up. But if you say something like best song to get over a dreary day, or something like that, those people that are having a dreary day or that have ever had one, they're going to click on it because they're going to be like, oh, really? Well, let me see what this is about. So it's all in the subject line, and it's all in how you promote it. Marketing is tricky. Marketing is different. You have to think about it. You can't some people think that, you just tell them what it is and they're going to flock to it. But, that's not motivating enough for people. Mm-hmm. So take it an extra step. True.
Well, I definitely appreciate you coming on and joining me for this first episode, the third time. We finally got it through. I think all the internet worked. I think the microphones sound good. There's not any glitching. You look beautiful as always. The camera is clear. I think we got one finally in the books. Thank you again for coming on and being patient with me. And I'm sure I will talk to you a little bit later today.
Absolutely. But if you hear me again, don't hesitate to ask, because I got about another 100 hours of information in me.
I might take you up on that.
Okay. Have a magnificent rest of the day.
Thank you, you too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
I go based on tunes. Letting on me can call. I can never make that choice. Want it, tell them I want it, 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 I want it. Tell them I want it, 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 want it, I want it. Tell them I want it, 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 I want it. Tell them I want it, 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 I want it. Money is power, pussy is power. Power on me, I consume it for hours. I got a dream, but they all about the power. All that I need is an hour. Rain